Are you tired of landing in circle 2 and never cashing in on your putts and always missing those birdie opportunities? Or maybe you're not getting enough of those birdie opportunities. In this podcast, we bring on Stacie Hass, who's been lighting it up from circle 2 this year, and she gives us her top tips for how you can do the same and how you can make more circle 2 putts. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now so you never miss another podcast. We've got fantastic episodes dropping every single week. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel and check out our review of the new Discraft Athena. It's an awesome fairway driver, and I think it could be a staple in a lot of people's bags, so make sure you go check that out. Leave a like rating if you're watching this on YouTube right now, and let's get Stacie on the podcast right now.
Hey, my name is Stacie Hass, and you're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast.
Alrighty everyone, super excited to be joined by Stacie Hass tonight, a up-and-comer in the FPO division. I'm super excited for your future, Stacie, and so glad that we get to talk to you right now when you're really kind of first coming on to the tour. People are learning more about you. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. We are glad to have you on here. Quentin, are you doing great? I hope you're doing great. But
man, today has been a whirlwind of emotions. I have water in my basement. I got this awesome sign that I've been waiting on, and my internet is in and out. So good times, I'd say. So
love
far.
it. Well, yeah, we're excited to get to talking to you, Stacie. Thanks for coming on. I know it's been a long day for everyone tuning in. This was first day of Worlds. We're on Tuesday night, so she is staying up. I don't know if she's staying up late, but she is taking some time out of her night to hang out with us and chat with us. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. So Stacie, let's kind of start with your disc golf journey, right? What was the first moment where you came into contact with disc golf?
It was I want to say around like 2015, probably. My dad built us a little course at our house and like painted lines around trees that we would aim for. So that was the first time it was like introduced to me. I didn't really ever play though.
That is awesome. Just like object golf, so you were just shooting for the trees?
Yeah.
And were you using discs or like discs now, or were you just using like a Frisbee?
Yeah, we had a couple discs.
That is cool. So if you didn't really play, what kind of got you kind of rolling in those early days?
I didn't really get into it until 2020, but I played kind of off and on growing up, mainly because when my family went to courses, I didn't really want to stay home alone, so I'd go with them and play every once in a while. And then we moved to a summer camp, and we had a disc golf class there, so I started participating in that and like helping teaching in that every once in a while.
Nice. Yeah, that's really exciting. How do you go from kind of getting into that class? Like, was that kind of what sparked you into wanting to play all the time? Or like, kind of take me through that timeline of how did you go from like, I'm just going to come along for the walk, I guess, but I really don't want to play, to somebody who's on the pro tour right now?
Yeah, so we moved to Michigan in, I don't remember, 2019, 2020. And before that, we lived in Georgia, and I played every once in a while, but it mainly started when I moved to Michigan because I didn't really have a lot to do. I didn't have any friends yet, so I went and played with my family. And then started to compete a little bit more in Michigan.
Very nice. So when you were teaching, you said you were teaching like how to play disc golf at summer camp, right? Was that?
Kinda.
Was that?
I was a help. I wasn't really like a big help, but.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when did you kind of get into, you said you started playing in 2020. Was it like 3 months, 4 months, a year into it, that you started playing more competitively?
So I played one tournament in 2018, and then I played 2 in 2019, and then 2020 I played 14, I believe. So it was that year where like I started to like the competitiveness of it.
Okay, so you were more of just kind of I'll go sign up for a couple tournaments. I do enjoy playing, and then 2020 you just caught the bug, as they would say, or would you say you always
Yeah.
had the bug?
No, definitely not. I did not like it at all at first because I only played with my brothers and my dad, and they were a lot better than me. So for me, it wasn't fun. It wasn't really like competitive. And then I got out playing with more females, and I realized that I'm not all that bad. And then once I started competing in Michigan, I saw myself winning and getting better pretty fast.
How quickly did you start winning when you started playing tournaments?
Um, I let's see. I won all of my female amateur events except for Junior Worlds. So I
Wow.
kind of started off winning.
That
Did that like give you like were you then going into, more of the professional side being like I'm literally unstoppable, nobody can beat me? Or were you like, okay, I was dunking on these clowns, but now the competition's going to go to another level?
Yeah, I knew that the competition was higher and it was gonna take a lot more out of me to win.
Yeah, that's cool. I kind of have a question, and it might be more for people that are listening to this that like are kind of in a similar situation, female, whatever, younger kids, whatever it might be. What kind of pushed you? So you didn't necessarily enjoy it as much at first because you were playing with a bunch of people who were throwing a lot further, and it's not always fun to just go up and throw. And I mean, all of us were beginners at some point. None of it, like when I first started, I could throw the disc like 100 feet and 80 feet to the left, and it wouldn't go very far, and it was just kind of frustrating. So what kind of pushed you to get out of your, I guess, well, maybe it wasn't so much your comfort zone, but try to find that community or the other females to play with? And then how much more fun was it once you finally made that jump and started playing with other females?
It was a lot more fun, more enjoyable, and more competitive for sure. I think I don't remember why I signed up for my first event. I think my parents kind of made me, and then that was my first time like playing with females. And then my mom would play also, so I'd sign up other events and play in her division with her, and it kind of just grew. And then once we moved to Michigan, it's a pretty big disc golf scene, so there's quite a few females up there I could play against.
That's awesome. And then I'm sure you've got some friends that you met playing tournaments and stuff that ended up being your practice round buddies, or how did that kind of look?
Well, we kind of live up in the middle of nowhere, so near our house there's not much, but for tournament wise, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's always
Yeah.
great when you get out and meet people. And the disc golf community is awesome. Even if it is
Mhm.
uncomfortable, I've had experiences where it's still great for everybody to join in and play,
Right.
even when you aren't maybe as good as you'd like to be. So that's awesome. That's great to
Mhm.
hear.
So, talk to me a little bit about after you decided to make the jump to go to the open division. First off, what was kind of that click in your mind that was like, okay, I'm ready to go to the open division? And going to that division, did that make you go out and do more field work, or were you just gonna see how your first couple tournaments went? Like, did you automatically go into big time practice mode? Kind of talk to me about what that transition was like.
Trying to remember it. I won the Michigan Amateur States for advanced, and then kind of like after that I went into playing pro. It wasn't really like a huge jump for me. Much. It wasn't like I didn't really practice any more, any less. I was kind of just chilling out. I wasn't really expecting to go on tour like 2 years ago now. Like I wouldn't have even thought like to be on tour. So it's kind of crazy that I'm here now. But yeah, kind of just all slowly happened.
That's awesome. So what? So you go from playing your first MPO. Hopefully you didn't have another one, Quentin, because I got one now. Anyway, so you go from playing your first couple MPO tournaments, and then you decided to tour. Kind of what pushed you to jump on the tour?
So last year I played Clash of the Canyons as the Silver Series, and I did really well there. And then I played at Deglow, and I really liked the environment. I noticed that I was kind of like in the middle of the stack, and that I could hang on if I came out on tour. And ever since that, it's kind of like that's kind of what I want to do.
Heck yeah.
So is that something that you want to do long term? Do you see yourself being a long term touring player, or is it, I'm going to hit a couple tournaments here, I'm going to hit a couple tournaments here, I'm going to go to school, or I'm going to work here? Like what is your future plan?
I'm going to give it probably at least 3 years, see where I'm at there. I'm not sure if I'll hit all of the events. I kind of got burnt out this year, so I'm going to try to schedule that a little better so I can get more break weeks. But after about like 3 years, I'll see where I'm at, and if not, then I'll probably go to college or something. But I don't really want to go to college, so hopefully disc golf works out for me.
And when you say hoping disc golf works out for you, like how would you define a successful 3 years? Like in 3 years from now, what would you define as a success that would lead to you continuing to stay on the tour?
It's more as if like if I like it, like if I can stay like mentally strong for that many years, because already this year I've like exceeded my expectations, so I know in the next years I feel like I'll just continue to climb, so I don't think I have any issue with that. It's mainly just my mental game and how much I'm actually like enjoying being out here.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So what is it that keeps you, so you did say a minute ago you've gotten a little burnt out already. Is it just every weekend having a different tournament? Is it traveling? Is it making sure you're getting out and doing field work? What is that kind of gave you that little bit of a burnout feeling that you've had, or that you said you've had so far this season?
It's a mix of all. And like last year I played a lot of events in Michigan, like local events, but they weren't quite like mentally hard. Like I didn't realize like the mental struggle that tour has, like the constant like having to focus each weekend. And the travel does get exhausting, like constantly on the move.
What is your current travel situation? Are you traveling with anyone? Are you just driving a Prius around by yourself? Like like for somebody who's thinking right now, like, hey, I'm really good in my local area, I want to see what tour life is like. What has tour life been like for you? Has it met expectations? Is it nothing like you thought it would be? Like how would you describe your touring life this year?
So I've been touring with my brother, DW Hass, for most of the events, and we have the community Eagles Wings with us, so we're kind of like, a group of us usually stays at a stop, so we always have like that community with us that I know is like a huge help that I'm thankful for, that I know not everyone has. But it's been great. It's exceeded my expectations, I think. It's not quite all that I thought it was. I think it's just more tiring than I was expecting, but I'm liking it so far.
Well, I got to say once again, thanks for taking the time to come on, because I couldn't imagine traveling all over the place. It'd be a lot of fun. I think I'd like it a lot, but it would be exhausting for sure.
Yeah.
And like.
Oh.
Go ahead,
nope,
Trent.
You got something.
I was just gonna say, like, I almost feel as if the Pro Tour schedule is almost a little bit too daunting. Like you were talking about how you were having a little bit of a burnout. I can only imagine that a normal human would have burnout when doing something like that so repetitively. I mean, there's maybe 4 weekends off from the first tournament in February to the last tournament of the year if you include all the Silver Series. Heck, if you include all the Silver Series, there might not be any weekends off. So, like, is that almost a problem where there's too many stops on the Pro Tour? Or should the person on the tour know when enough is enough and they need to take a week off?
I think I'm not sure. For, like, the higher pros, since they've been, like, touring longer, so they kind of know how much like they can handle, and I feel like some people can handle more than others, of course. I don't think it's too much, because it's nice to have like the variety and not have like every pros at every event to see like give other people chances to get their name out there for sure. But for me, I didn't go out west, so I had those weeks off, and then I took last week off, and then like a couple other weeks.
And kind of like the reason I bring that up is because looking at Eagle McMahon, who I think his was more due to injury instead of burnout, obviously, but like has played 3, maybe 4 events this year and has won a major. Currently, at the time of recording this, is sitting in a tie for second at Worlds after the first round. Like, I almost wonder if taking off more time getting ready for these big tournaments, ensuring your mind and body are on the same page might lead to more success. Like, have you found that coming off of an off weekend, you have more success in a tournament than when you're going back to back?
I feel like that. I took about like a month break, and coming back from that, I just felt like more energized. I was like ready to play and kind of wanted to play. More as kind of just like, I'm here, so I have to play type of thing. And I didn't play like last week at all, so I was coming into this event, like wanting to play and feeling rested.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So for example, last week, when you take your breaks, are you not doing any, like, what is your practice, or how much do you really play on your off weeks?
I don't practice as much as I would like to. Last week, my brothers and my friends were at a tournament, so I kind of just went and walked with them. I did a little bit of putting and played a little bit on their practice days, but not a whole lot.
So is your main focus, like in those situations, we all get it, we all want to practice, especially like Quentin and I's level, amateur level, and obviously pro level too. We all want to practice more than we can. So what kind of tips would you give people who maybe can't play as often as they would like to, and how do you, and what could they do to like mentally kind of practice, I guess, or think about what they're doing and how they're playing or how they're gonna play the next time they play, if that makes sense?
I think that makes sense. For me, it's kind of like even if I don't feel motivated, you have to like go out there and still practice anyways, because once you get out there, you'll be fine, and then you get into like your routines. And it's hard if you don't have a lot of free time, because sometimes you just want to rest when you have free time, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, for sure. So during this practice and being out on tour, have you found any part of your games that you would say are major strengths, and maybe some parts that you find that you want to continue to develop in your practice?
I'm really liking. I'm pretty confident with my circle 2 putts at the moment, and I feel like I have decent distance on my drives. My upshots definitely need some help though. I'd say my upshots, and then just putting confidence for sure.
I hear that. So let's get into circle 2 putting a little bit. What about your circle 2 putting is the thing that makes you feel the best, or why do you have the confidence that you have currently?
Like about 5 to 10 feet right outside circle, I do like a step putt, and it goes in a lot, so I feel confident with it, and it takes more pressure off, I feel like, when it's a circle 2 putt, because you don't feel like you have to make it, so I feel like it's kind of easier to stay focused with those, because it's not so pressured.
Right.
Yeah, and so let's talk a little bit about your step putt. For those players who are like, what the heck is a step putt? I just kind of stand there and just hope the disc goes in the basket. What is a step putt, and how does one properly execute a step putt?
So for me, it's kind of more like a step through. So I kind of like putt as I'm leaning forward, and then I step. I know some people do it a little different, but that's kind of just like how I do it to catch the momentum.
So when you're step putting, your body is going towards the basket, and then you release at maybe not the last possible minute, but the most comfortable time for you, and then you follow through straight towards the basket?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you feel the momentum when you're step putting, and the pressure help. Like, not putting as much pressure to make it when you're in circle 2 is what helps the most. But then also you're able to get a little bit more of almost like a line drive when you step putt or okay.
I feel like my timing is a lot more consistent with my step putts. I'm not sure why, but it feels a lot more like slower and smoother.
Yeah,
Makes
absolutely.
sense.
So what made you decide that you were going to be a step putter instead of someone who does not step putt when they're in circle 2?
It was last winter. I was kind of playing around with it a little bit. My dad was like showing me it, and I started trying it out, and I noticed a lot of them were going in pretty effortlessly, and I honestly didn't. Let me see. I didn't start off my season step putting. I think it was the week before Music City, so I think that was in Texas. Was like my first time actually doing it in tournament.
So if someone is on the fence and currently right now they don't step putt, what do you think, besides they get a little more momentum on the disc, what do you think was the most comfortable part for you when you switched from a standstill putt towards the beginning of the season to the step putt? And why do you think it would be beneficial for someone to try?
I feel like it keeps it online more, because from so far, at least for me, I'm not super, like, I'm pretty weak. So I feel like it's a lot more inconsistent trying to throw it there harder, whereas a step putt takes a lot out of that, and you kind of just keep it online of the pole the whole time.
Yeah, like I know on this. Go ahead, Trent.
No, I was going to say it makes sense.
Yeah, like on this podcast, you don't step putt, I step putt, and I kind of found early on that as close as I can get to the basket that is legally going to allow me to step putt, I will step putt. If I'm sitting at 33.5 feet and if I don't mark it, I get a step putt, I'm going to step putt and not mark the disc, because I feel as though I have more confidence at that circle 2 level than I do just inside, either at 30, 25, even 20 feet sometimes. And I really think you're making a great point, Stacie, that it's the momentum toward the basket is what helps them go in for me more, because I know, for example, if I'm doing a putt at 30 feet, I have to put so much more power and almost like thought into I need to putt this hard, because I'm in a standstill position and I just have to go straight up and down with my arm motion, where when I get to step putt, I know that with my arm motion, you keep your back foot on your lie and you let go before your other foot hits the ground, so it's legal. But for me, you're in a better position and your entire body weight, instead of just going straight up, is going toward where you are throwing. So I also think it gives you a good indicator if you miss. Well, you're now able to see, okay, well, I fell off to the left, or I was falling off to the right, or I fell forward, my momentum was going forward, but my arm ended up above my eyes, or my arm didn't even get to my chest, or something like that. And I feel like you almost get more feedback when you step putt, and you can tell exactly where the disc is going. And for me, I think there's just so much more confidence there than just standing, going straight up and down. I don't know if you agree with any of that.
I agree with all that. I've had tournaments where I'm more confident, like right outside the circle than like 25 to 30 feet.
Yeah, and I think for me, that all makes sense. And I'm the guy who, I've tried step putting a few times, and maybe I just need to practice it more, but I just feel like I almost put too much power and it goes too far past if I miss, or I pull it. Like, I'm more inconsistent and I pull it more to the right than when I'm standing still. So I guess that is my reason for not step putting. So all of this sounds fantastic. Quentin, you've talked about, trying to show me how to do it, which I've watched you do it a million times. When I edit videos, I see you do it all the time. But for me personally,
well, let me jump in. Let me jump in real quick, because that's something that I struggle with, and you've seen it, and those who watch YouTube videos have seen it also. The missing to the right, Stacie. I don't know if you miss to the right at all, because that's my most common putt. When I step putt, it's missing to the right, and I almost wonder if it's just a mental thing where it's like, I know disc fade, so I must aim more right, to put it as simple as possible. So therefore, it's almost an overcorrection in aiming right. So there's countless times where the disc flashes past the basket after it's gone by. And I'm like, wow, if I was 10 feet back, that would have been absolute money right now. Because the aim point, I think, in Circle 2, especially 40 and in, should be virtually the exact same spot as if you're in the circle, maybe one length of chains over. Where do you typically aim, Stacie?
I usually just aim on the pole, but sometimes I do tend to pull it right because I think, like, in my brain I'm thinking, oh, I'm so far outside the circle, but I forget how soft and easy the putt still is.
See, and that's interesting to me because when I do a standstill putt, especially recently, I've noticed, like, even when I'm further out and I feel like I need to push it harder, really all I need to do in my version of putting is I just need to throw it like a little bit higher. I almost use the same amount of power every time. I just my release point changes. It just maybe, like, I don't know, a couple inches higher when I'm at 35, 40 feet rather than, obviously, when I'm at 20, I'm not going to sail one, a foot and a half over the basket. And I don't know. This all makes sense. I'm kind of derailing the step putt conversation here, but for me personally, I need to get to try it. Maybe I need to take some lessons from you, Quentin, but I need to give it a whirl and see how it goes. But for me, I just feel like I'm a little more inconsistent when I try to step on the longer putts. But
and let's maybe explore a little bit about the other concern you had, where you had talked about almost the fearfulness of going too far past the basket. Because I can't understand, with more momentum, more force going in a straight line, technically, yes, you're right, you'll probably go past the basket more often than not. Stacie, has that been a problem that you have dealt with, and how have you overcome that problem?
It's not a huge problem, but when I'm practicing step putts, I always make sure to make my comebackers. So I'm confident with that range, and I'm confident to run it every time because I know I can make it back.
Yeah, I mean, that almost kind of reminds me of the podcast that we had with Robbie C., who, in talking about upshots and how to improve them, he was talking a lot about you have to have your comfort circle. It almost feels like you have to go right back to that comfort circle thing. Like, if you're comfortable making a 15-footer, give it enough sauce to where if it goes by, it's going to be sitting at about 15 feet. But if you're cool going for a 30-footer comebacker, then you can give it as much sauce and no care that you need. And if you happen to miss or you go off the top, you'll still be able to have that confidence to make it back. So I agree with you, Stacie. I really almost feel as though it's just a confidence thing. If you have the confidence that you can make it from 20 feet, then you might as well load the cannons and go for it.
For sure.
Yeah, I got a question too. Do you putt with the same putter or a different putter when you're at distance and you're step putting?
I putt with the same putter.
Okay. Is it stable, overstable?
What is that putter?
It's an Atom. It's more stable. I don't really notice it a whole lot because I spin putt, so not a whole lot affects it, I feel like, but yeah.
Makes sense.
That's also an interesting point that you bring up, that you spin putt, because I'm trying to think of anyone who Circle 2 putts that steps through that isn't a spin putter. The only one that can kind of come to mind is James Conrad. I don't know if you would consider his a push putt. It's probably more of a splush putt like everyone, but like I really feel like most Circle 2 putters are spin putters, and they just use the spin and maybe put a little bit more hyzer on it to force itself into the chains. Because I can definitely understand if you're push putting and going up, like if you go, I feel like you have way too much opportunity to go high and then therefore sail past the basket.
Maybe that's my problem. I'm probably more of a push putter than a spin putter. So when I step, I spin it more than I'm used to, and so it just, woo, see ya.
Yeah. Comment down below. Let us know. Are you a push putter? Are you a splush putter? Or are you a spin putter, and do you step putt from Circle 2? Stacie, another question I have for you. Is there a range in which you stop step putting and you go to jump putting? And like how would that be different from your step putt?
Probably a little more than halfway back in circle 2. It's kind of more of like when I walk up to the putt and if I think I can do it or not. And then I usually jump putt, a little jump putt.
So is that like, what, 60, 65-ish feet? Or is that more like 55? Maybe my math is way off here.
50. I don't
Halfway between circle 2.
I don't know how. I'd say probably around 50-ish.
Yeah, because circle 1's 33 feet, so if you're halfway, circle 2's 66.
Yeah, and
okay.
My jump putts, I'm not usually like going up to make. I'm not like expecting it every time.
Yeah. So if you're in a situation where you're sitting, I don't know, let's say 75 to, let's go 100 feet away. I feel like that's a really tough range because for upshots, and I know you had kind of mentioned maybe that's where your game needs to improve a little bit, like, are you throwing an upshot or are you like almost step putting, laying those up?
If I can jump putt it, I'll usually jump putt it just to get it near the bullseye. If I don't feel like I can, then I'll try to throw it.
Yeah. Have you almost found that you have more control in the times that you like step putt compared to throwing? Because I know for me, something I struggle with is throwing the disc at that range and it going straight enough or picking the correct angle so it hyzers in enough, because I feel like I shouldn't be putting a lot on it, so therefore it's going to just hyzer out too early and I'm going to leave myself with a putt that I didn't want when I was in a great situation. I don't know, how do you find yourself being more accurate with the step putt than the throw?
Yeah, I find it a lot more consistent. Sometimes it like slips out or I don't quite throw it hard enough, but most of the times I find it more consistent. I'm more comfortable with it for sure.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. Every time I try to do like a little throw from about 100 feet, it usually goes horribly wrong. But that's part of the learning process. So I don't step putt still, but I've went to more of like a jump putt from those situations. Or if it's open enough, I'll just do a standstill, a little floaty thing on Annie and let it glide in there. So
there you go. So to kind of recap this conversation here, what would you say are the 3 most important things for someone who wants to learn how to step putt?
Practice for sure. It's not gonna work for everyone, of course. It won't be comfortable, but if it feels good and you find yourself making them a lot, then I would definitely stick to it.
Also, I know I just said let's wrap that up, but I do want to ask you, because you said practice, like, is that literally just picking a spot and step putting 30 times? Or, like, what is your practice for C2 before we move on?
Circle, I don't really do a whole lot of practice. At least out on tour, I can't really find time. But at home, I usually do my regular putting inside the circle from, like, 15, 20, 25, and then 30 a couple times. And then once I'm warmed up with that, then I'll move on to circle 2 putts. Usually I do around 20 or 30 from all different ranges as well.
And is that for like 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Like, how long do you usually practice putt?
It feels like a while, but it's usually only like 30 minutes.
If you want to get better at your circle 2 putts, I think this has been a fantastic discussion on how you can do that. And like I said, use the comment section, hit us up on Instagram. We would love to hear how this has helped your circle 2 putting, because I know I'm going to be a more focused and a more confident circle 2 putter after this discussion. I want to kind of talk about maybe your sponsorship a little bit next. You know, being such a young disc golfer, getting in at what I feel like is a fantastic time to be getting in. How were your negotiations with your manufacturer and your other sponsors you had? Like, were you kind of leading those by yourself and just kind of hoping to get what you got? Or was there maybe some pushback from either side? Like, kind of talk to me about how all that went down.
So I really only had two offers, and I was kind of just getting what I could get. I didn't know really what to expect or what I should be asking for, so it's kind of like whatever they offered, and then kind of just whoever I feel like I should go with at that point.
And who, for the people who do not know, who are your sponsors currently?
I'm on MVP for my manufacturer, and I'm with Great Lakes Discs for my retail sponsor, and then I have Mitten Bags as well.
Very nice. MVP Disc Golf. Those are some awesome discs. I haven't used too many of them. What do you think has been your favorite couple molds in your bag that you throw with MVP?
Vision Photons. I'm really liking those for my distance shots, and hexes are really good. I really like the hex. I feel like they're very reliable. Kind of whatever line you put them on, they'll go there. And for putters, I'm liking the proxies for upshots. They're like dead straight, and they're super good.
Nice. What kind of discs are the ones, the hex, in the other discs that you mentioned? Like, could you describe like maybe what the flight numbers are ish and kind of how they normally fly?
I'm not sure about the flight numbers. I know that the Photon is a speed 11 though. It's kind of overstable when you get it, but the ones I have are pretty beat in, so there's more straight to flippy after throwing them for a season. And the hex is a mid-range. I want to say a speed 5. I'm not sure about the other numbers though. Not sure about the proxy.
Does the hex, does it fly like dead straight? Is it got a little bit of turn? How does it fly for you?
I have a few different ones in my bag, and most of them fly pretty dead straight. Maybe like a little finish, and then I have like a flippy one too as well. But for the most part, dead straight.
Is it out of the box dead straight, or did you kind of have to work it into being straight to flippy?
I had to work it in a little bit, not a whole lot. And then some of them I got from people, so I'm not sure how used they were before me.
Yeah, you gotta love used discs. That's like almost. I mean, obviously getting a brand new disc is nice, but sometimes getting a used disc is the best way to go because it is flying exactly how it is meant to fly once it gets a little beat up. So let's talk a little bit about your retail. Well, I just have a question about having a retail sponsor and a manufacturing sponsor. Does that mean you can throw a little bit of a mixed bag, or are you solely throwing MVP plastic?
Solely throwing MVP.
Okay. And then Great Lakes is just like gives you a little. You have like custom stamp discs or something with them, or how does that work?
I have some fundraiser discs through them.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, like, would you throw MVP before you were sponsored by them? Like, how did you initially get introduced to their plastic, or were they just one of the ones that happened to call and you said, you know what, I like this number. Yes, I will sign for this.
I don't think I ever threw an MVP disc before I signed with them. One of my good friends, Jessica and Brandon Oleski, they're on MVP, and they're kind of like talking to them about me, and I knew they're interested in me, so I reached out to them and just see what they could offer me for the year.
Very nice. So you did reach out after talking to your couple of your friends that played for them, and well, they told you they were interested, but so you reached out for for them to potentially sponsor you when this all started.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
So
last question I got, but go ahead.
No, I was going to kind of ask a couple questions that people asked on the Facebook. So
yeah. Let me ask this question and we can get to that. So the last question I have on this topic is for those who are seeking sponsorship, right? Let's say I love MVP discs. I'm not sponsored by them, or insert X manufacturer here, right? Would you recommend reaching out to them, asking for sponsorship, or would you recommend waiting for them to come to you? Like, how would you traverse that canal?
I would probably start with a lot of social media stuff if you're introduced. Wanting interested. That's the word. If you're interested in your brand and you kind of want to get noticed by them, I would definitely social media, because I know a lot of people look at that. and then once you start building that up a little more, maybe make some friends with their teammates so your name can kind of get around, and then after that, I'd say reach out to them.
Yeah, I think networking definitely seems to be like a huge thing for the disc golf world, and just anything like life in general. I mean, you can get me and you, Quentin, our jobs, we know the right people, or we just know someone who works there. It helps, get hired. So networking is definitely huge. Making those connections on Instagram, social, on Facebook, on Twitter, whatever it might be. And then when you're out at your course with your, the local pros, like I don't know if MVP has like a street team, so to speak, but I know like Prodigy has something called the street team, and Innova has, I can't remember what it's called now. Anyways, those like not lower, but you know what I mean, like entry level teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the best way, I think, I agree. Seems like the best way to, get your name out there. So that's awesome advice. And then once you build that relationship, you're saying just shoot them an email or call them, or how exactly did you do that?
Send in I sent them an email, but most companies, you'll just send in like an application on their website.
Cool. Well, I have a question from a couple of our Facebook group people. So it's really interesting too, since you said you never really threw MVP until you got with them. So, Alan Beam, or I'm sorry, I'll ask that one in a minute. Thomas Payne asks, how do you feel MVP discs are different than other single injection mold brands?
So before MVP, I really only threw Discraft, so I don't really have a lot of knowledge of other manufacturers and molds. But MVP, I feel like it's very effortless to throw, and they go pretty far. A lot of them are really pretty too, so that always helps. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Go ahead, Trent.
I was just gonna ask if the I can't think of what it's called anymore. Like the Gyro Technology. Do you think that is very much different compared to like a standard Undertaker? Like a standard
I think it helps. I think it helps for sure.
Why?
I mean, why? Someone explained it to me once, and it made a lot of sense, but I don't quite remember all what they said.
Hey, that's all right.
Gotcha. All good. So yeah, if you guys want to jump in and have your question asked on the podcast, you got to join us over at Chain Clankers Disc Golf, the Facebook group. Trenton has been doing a fantastic job running that and conversing with everyone and posting daily. So you guys got to get in there. It's a really, really fun place where we're building more Clankers community. So next question we got for you comes from Adam Sant. He asks, Stacie, here's a technical question about feel versus mechanics. I've noticed when you throw tee shots, it appears to me that you always commit 90 to 100% power. How long did it take you to learn your bag, or do you ever disc down or up for your distances? Or throw half power shots with faster or slower discs? By the way, your form is fantastic. Thumbs up emoji.
Awesome. Okay, what was the first part of that question? Sorry.
So how long did it take you to learn your bag? And then the second part of that is like, do you disc up or disc down for different distances? And the last part is, do you throw half power for like slower discs or faster discs? So like, just kind of go through maybe your kind of shot selection and why maybe.
Okay. It took me a little a good amount of time to learn my bag, mainly because when I started throwing, that was right when like winter hit, so I couldn't really throw a lot outside because in Michigan it's really snowy. But once I got out on tour and learned it more, I got a lot more comfortable with it. I do disc. I usually disc down, if I can, and throw full power, 'cause that's what I'm most comfortable with. I'm not super great at like disking up and throwing less, but I'm working on that a lot, and a lot comes with like placement shots of where I want to be on the fairway.
Makes sense. All right. Alan Beam wants to know, and you might not know this, he says, but Do you know when the MVP beam is going to be released? Because he said he needs that disc.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that one yet.
I have a question. Have you
TBD.
Have you thrown the Zenith yet?
I have not.
Ooh.
No.
That thing's pretty
good.
sweet. We got to try it out.
Oh, sweet. I'm looking forward to it.
It's pretty good. Okay, cool. Well, hey, that's going to wrap it up for the fan questions. Make sure you guys get those in over on Facebook. I know we are getting a little tight here on time. So let's knock out the ace round real quick, and then make sure you guys are supporting us over on Patreon. We're going to have the second episode of Beyond the Chains. We're going to be sitting down with Stacie. We're going to ask her a couple more questions, get some more insight, maybe some more stories. But Trenton, start us off with the first ace round question here.
Yep. So you are taking a beginner to get their first set of discs. What putter, mid, and driver are you recommending?
Okay, so I'd say for a fairway driver, let's see, the Virus is really good. I'm liking that a lot. It's understable, and I think that would be really good for beginners. Mid range, either a Hex. If you have a little lower arm speed and looking for something flippier, the Uplink is also a really good option for a mid range. And putter, probably a Proxy. Those fly pretty straight, pretty dead straight. I think that would be good.
Awesome. Second question we got for you. What is the favorite course you have played and one course you have not played yet that you want to make sure you get out and cross off your bucket list?
Favorite course is hard because I don't really remember a lot of them that I've played. But I'll go with my favorite one in Michigan is probably Green Lake. It's up in Traverse, and the disc golf park made it, and it's pretty wooded, but you also need a lot of distance there to help you out, and it's a lot of fun. And a course that I want to play, I'm looking forward to playing Maple Hill this year.
Yeah, Maple Hill.
Heard a lot of good things about it.
Maple Hill looks awesome. I think I would love to play that one as well.
Yeah.
All right, third question for you. What is one tip you would tell your beginner self knowing what you know now?
Patience. A lot of patience, and everything takes time. Also, mental game and focus is huge in disc golf, and there's not a whole lot that you can control in disc golf other than you throw. But past that, it's out of your control. But the one thing you always have control over is your mind and how you react to stuff. So try to stay calm because getting mad usually doesn't help.
I love that answer.
Right.
That is such a good answer. And if you guys need help with that or want more on that, check out our last two episodes. We sat down with Evan Smith and Randon Latta. They've got fantastic tips and tricks on how you can better your mental game. And I promise you, you're going to be a better disc golfer after those episodes because you're mentally going to be stronger. Fourth question I've got for you here, Stacie. What is your favorite memory playing disc golf?
Favorite memories, definitely my win at Tallahassee this year. It was a Silver Series, and I honestly was not expecting a win that early on in tour.
Well, heck yeah. I got a side question to that, even though I know we're getting a little short on time. What do you think it was? Was it the unexpecting to win, or were you just relaxed going into that tournament, or what do you think kind of brought it home for you?
I stayed focused. I was in first after round one, and I thought that was crazy. I was like, there's no way. And I kind of I didn't count myself out, but I also wasn't expecting the win out of it. So I kind of just stayed focused, played my game. I also, going into that event, I really liked the course, which that definitely helps.
Yep, I can agree with that. Liking the course helps a lot. That's awesome. Maybe we can dig into that a little bit more and beyond the chains. Sorry, Quentin butchered the name. All right, final question for you. What is the biggest mistake you see new players make?
I feel like trying to throw higher speed discs. When I started out, I threw a lot of just putters and mid ranges, and once I get those starting to fly consistent and straight, and working more on your footwork, then you can start moving up distances, distance drivers, and so on.
Yeah, that's
Definitely
a fantastic tip. I think this has been a great episode. Stacie, we appreciate you coming on. Where can the people continue to connect with you and follow your disc golf journey?
You can follow me on Instagram. It's just my name with periods in between the letters. And you can help support me by buying fundraiser discs off of GreatLakesDiscs.com.